Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Down to Business. Today we're talking with another great business owner. I've got Kari Armitage from Kari Mining joining me. Now, you heard that correctly, mining, and a lovely lady that's joined me today, breaking the stranglehold, I think, on some of the industry history and traditions. And I love it as a dad, as a husband, and always pushing my daughter forward. I think it's just great, and I've really been looking forward to this story today. What's more important is Kari Mining is a manufacturing company, which, for how many years have we seen manufacturing fade away from these shores, and to see what Kari Mining's done, I think you'll get a nice surprise and maybe some real good lessons in there for us to learn. But she's a significant employee. She's absolutely a hunter leader and a mentor, and today I welcome Kari for a quick chat. So welcome to the podcast and video.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
I've probably just given you a very a limited intro. I'm probably done injustices, but I want to hear the story. I mean, I've heard bits and pieces before, but especially for viewers of this blog as to how you ended up to where you are, and a bit around some of the growth opportunities that you've taken and that along the way, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Kari Mining was started by my dad when I was 11. I didn't take too much notice of it when I was 11, busy riding my horse and such. And then when I left school, I did civil engineering and worked for Parsons Brinckerhoff for about 10 or so years. And there came a point where Dad was sort of saying to me, I need someone to help me come and take over my business. And poor Dad didn't get himself a son, so there I was. And my engineering background certainly was a great thing at the end of the day, but I had no understanding of Kari Mining or really what Dad did, except worked pretty hard. And it was just Mum and Dad, and they ran the business out of the garage at our house at Lochinvar.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Very different to now.
Very different to now, yeah. So when I joined, and it was a big decision for me because I really loved my job, and the people that I worked with at PB, it was a really great job. And I had some fantastic mentors there that I'm still very grateful for today, and I still use a lot of the lessons there every day, in what I do every day now. But, so Mum and Dad convinced me to come and have a look around, and I sort of got there, and it was just like they would check the emails once a week, not once a minute. And he wasn't a highly organised individual, so there was just stuff everywhere, and it was all just a bit of a mess, and it really needed to be brought into the 21st century. But it was a great idea, and it was servicing a niche market in the mining industry, which we still do today. And so I kind of had this light bulb moment one day where I went, this just needs a little bit of TLC and a little bit of modern thinking, and I've had the benefit of these mentors and this other amazing job, and I could bring that, my experience, and so it was still pretty limited, I guess, when I look back now, to Kari Mining. So Dad gave me 3 things he said we need. He said we need an experienced underground coal miner who could be our technical sales representative. We need to stop renting and build our own purpose-built facility.
Yep.
And we need to machine our own stuff and stop subcontracting out of manufacturing. So, 3 pretty massive sorts of, okay, Dad, I'm on it. And that's about all the guidance he really gave me, because he's very, very old school, and he believed that you shouldn't really need to be taught, you should learn it yourself.
Right. Which in part, to be fair, we probably need a bit more of that these days.
Yeah, we probably do need a little bit more self-starterism sometimes around the place. But, yeah, it was quite challenging the way he put it to me. But I like to find mountains to climb, so that's probably what I did. So it all sort of really began when I decided that I was going to take myself off to the mines rescue and do a self-rescue course, so I could go underground and just have a look at what on earth we were trying to do here, what industry we were trying to see.
Yeah, right.
Really how much
You'd never been in a mine before, obviously.
No. I had actually done some work on the design of the mine infrastructure when I was at PB. So I was project managing I actually project managed the surface facilities and the decline engineering design at Mandalong, who is today probably our biggest customer, our biggest mine, which is crazy. So I went to the self-rescue course, and while I was there, I was just waiting for it to begin, and I was listening to the facilitator speak to a guy and he was just saying, I came from North Windsor, and he was an underground miner, and he'd taken a VR, and he was down here building his house, and it was time to get back into the industry. And I thought, that's the guy I need to help me. That's one of the 3 things on my list. And so throughout the day, I just got to chat to him, and I said to him, would you come and meet my dad? I think back now, I'm horrified that I said
Bit of a job interview.
Yeah. And so he did, and so he's still with me today. That's Phil Breeze, our general manager.
Right.
And still our main technical man. And so he now has a technical team that works with him. We have 6 ex-underground coal miners that are our sales team. And I don't like to call them our sales team because I believe that they're
More than that.
They're more than that. They lead, they lead the direction of the business, where the rest of us really just support them. The rest of all of the trades and manufacturing, fabrication, everything we have there is really supporting the direction that they're just gently leading us in all the time.
Yeah, and you obviously, as you said, it was mum and dad's business, and you were going to help out, as Dad said. But what were some of the real reservations? And I guess because that's a big decision, and how did I guess you overcome them yourselves?
Yeah, it really was a big decision, and I started to try and go out there just a couple of days a week to help out. But I'm probably a bit of an all or nothing person, and it really needed 100, 200% love and attention at the time. I had another guy that used to sort of mentor me a little bit outside of people, and I said to him, "Can we have a coffee? I really don't know what to do here." And he ran his own business still though, and he sort of said, "It's pretty cool to work for yourself, And kind of that was the sentence, I suppose. Someone had to just give me a little push, and that was it. So I just went, I'm going to jump.
Yeah. I think fortunately, we're not. We're preaching the converted to most of the viewers of this because a lot of people are business owners, but you'd have to agree. And looking back, it's probably not just because of the success, but what it gives you freedom, flexibility, and being able to, as you said, all or nothing, have a crack. It's probably been a pretty good decision.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate for my life. I'm very grateful. I don't actually feel like I work for myself at all. I work for Kari Mining, and it's much bigger than me and all of us, and we've got 300 people who I work for every day.
Yeah.
So it's not like I get up and choose, I might not go to work today, and I don't want it to be like that. I want to work with the team, and we all work together. We all look after Kari Mining. It looks after us.
Yeah, it's great. I'll come back to some points on that. Maybe for the viewers, we talk about quarry mining, but many people wouldn't know what quarry mining actually does. Obviously mining in the name, it's mining industry, but tell us a bit about the types of products, or as you said before, your machine, etc. What kind of products and or services that quarry mining delivers?
Yeah. So the quarry mining and construction equipment is the name Mum and Dad gave the business back in the early days when Dad was telling one of his mates, I'm going to start my own business. And they said, what are you going to do? And he said, I'm going to do equipment for quarries, mines and construction. So that's kind of how the name is there now. But the large part of our business is the underground coal mines. So we don't deal at all in the open cut. And the other part is the tunnel infrastructure project, where what we've really done there is taken our know-how in mining and transferred it to tunnelling, because most of the tunnels on our east coast, or even in New Zealand, they're mined tunnels. So it's a little bit of a different drilling methodology, but there's still the same sort of science behind it. And so, but in our manufacture plant, so we have 14 CNC machines, lots of robots and out there, and machinists, tradesmen, fitters, boilermakers, and we're manufacturing there at Beresfield mostly all of the drilling tools that go to the ground support in the underground mines.
And how, I guess off the back of that, I mentioned before about manufacturing, and I think at the moment manufacturing's a bit of a rebirth, if you like, off the back of COVID and the like in Australia. But for a long time, it's been under pressure. How have you taken that head on, and how have you mitigated that?
It's exciting for me that manufacturing is really back on the table, because I'm so passionate about keeping things made in Australia, and I recognise that there's a need, and there has been over those years you talk about there, especially for a hybrid model where the high volume, low cost items need to be manufactured offshore, and the things that are simpler. And we need that bread and butter stuff there. So we do that. We have a 50% ownership in a factory in China, and we make what we call our easy stuff there. And the smart stuff we still do here. So we've still got enough work for 8 tradesmen just alone in that machining manufacturing centre. That's aside from the other trades. And the thing has been really understanding what the underground coal mining in Australia demands as far as the quality product goes. And because we do have coal, but we also have quite hazardous conditions there with gas, and everything has to be non-spark and fire resistant and static, all that stuff that we need to understand, and the tolerances they demand are really tight, so that you don't get that sort of quality overseas. There's one particular tool that it is probably a low cost, high volume product, but we've made the decision not to manufacture that overseas because it goes in a really big, powerful machine and it's potentially a deadly weapon. So we make sure we manufacture it here to the highest quality standards. And when I speak to Glencore and Anglo and our big customers like that, they agree. They understand that they're useful and it's a great thing to be making it here and have those really stringent quality controls.
But it's a great point. It's really understanding what your end user, being your customer, what is important to them, and understanding, probably hitting it head on. It's not always price.
Not always price, yeah. And that's why our sales team is so just brilliant. They all know the pain points underground. They know what they need. They often go underground just to check that our products, whether they could be better and they really are working the way they want them to. And they've done it all before, so they know what they're looking at and what they're looking for. Then they come straight back to our machine shop and talk to our engineers in-house and tweak designs. So you haven't got that lost translation.
A bit of agility.
Business to business.
Yeah. I think it's interesting too. Another point I think many viewers could pick up on is that, again, not saying they just do sales, but your sales force are actually, people that have been and lived and walked, your customer shoes, I guess, is the best way to do it, where we come across a lot of people trying to employ a salesperson. They go, they've got to have sales experience. But realistically, you're saying, well, no, they've got to have experience in what we're selling.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah. Quite the opposite to being a salesperson. Yeah.
No, that's a good point. Good point.
And I also, I feel so fortunate I know mining's at a bit of a crossroads. What do we do? How do we pivot? Where are we going next? But I feel really fortunate to be working in the Hunter Valley and in mining. Underground coal miners, to me, are just amazing humans. They're smart. They are adaptable. They know how to manage risk and manage risk. And importantly, there's something I've really learned and seen in them is they've always got each other's back. If you take those qualities and put them in any business, you've got an amazing team. But they understand it. They seem to me, when I look at them, I think they understand it just that bit more than everybody else.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Just where they go every day.
And I think that's probably where, Newcastle gets its reputation. I mean, most people that want to trial something bring it to Newcastle because it's a hard market. If you can crack it here, you can probably get it going anywhere. And I think it's authentic as well. And that's probably some of the traits that, as you said, you bring from that teamwork. Got your back, but we'll call you on it as well. So yeah. I guess so. You got your products, okay. I know mining's the big focus, but you've also got tunneling and that sort of stuff as well. How have you managed to get the growth you have? Because without going into numbers and that sort of thing, as you said, when Dad got you involved, it was not many people, and now you've got how big's the team now?
80 staff.
Okay, so, significant growth, over, in the scheme of things, a fairly short period of time. How have you managed that growth, generated that growth, navigated that growth?
I'm known around quarry mining for biting off more than I can chew and then chewing like crazy, and I did a lot of that. And luckily for me, I managed to get a couple of people on team who were quite happy to do that with me. Yeah. And then slowly things started to become tendered out rather than just supplied in. So we got to bid for these tenders, and I remember the first tender we won was with Whitehaven Coal at Narrabri, a brand new mine, and we just pretty much ate cake all afternoon because we couldn't believe how much we just needed to celebrate, but we need to keep working. And then now there's Glencore Centennial. We've got lots of amazing contracts, and I've built the first shed in Beresfield. There's 5 there now, and it was a staged approach, function of cash flow, really.
Yeah, and I think to give a perspective for people listening, I've had a site tour, and they're not just garden sheds; they're reasonable size.
Yeah, they're big industrial sheds now. Yeah. So we I got the first shed built enough to just house one CNC machine, and we just wanted to start off manufacturing what we could there, the smart products. And I remember I was begging the bank manager for the maximum amount of money, and I couldn't actually fill the back of the shed in at the time. I couldn't afford that last panel, so we just left it open. Yeah. So, but as we grew and as we got more contracts and as our team proved itself out there in the market and people liked us and we got more work, we got more machines and more sheds and more contracts. And all the while, this is another thing where I've been very lucky. Quarry mining has been lucky. There's always seemed to have been a tunnel project just to be that backup to our mining market there the whole way along. So usually in that market, it's more of a source the right product, understand it, buy in, buy out. So you don't have to actually manufacture that. And a lot of that we still don't manufacture because it's not able to be manufactured in Australia just to the nature of the way it drills.
And you mentioned, obviously the GFC was, call it a trigger if you like, but I mean, obviously you still need to be in front of the right people, having the right conversations. I know that world, as you said, can sometimes just be the doors are shut.
Yeah.
How, I'm sure it wasn't just Johnny on the spot. How have you managed and your team to open those doors, to actually get them to look at alternatives? So when this trigger like the GFC come along that, you happen to be there, okay, well, let's look at quarry mining on the list.
Yeah. There is a bit of Johnny. There's a lot of Johnny on the spot, I suppose. But you're right. There's that persistence, and you've got to have those people that are actually wired okay to do that, because a lot of people can't handle those shut doors. But there was a logo Dad developed. That's still our logo now. There was some branding to do, just some picking the brains of some marketing people, seeing what I could afford to do at the time. Getting a website. There was no website, just email addresses, and really that backup in the office, so that the guys there was only Phil at the time on the road could ring me and get gear out there that day. And still to this day, such a reactive industry. So they don't know what they don't know when they get on site, sort of thing, and we'll be there to back it up. And we proved our stripes that way. So we just got more and more work by being those ones you can depend on. And we use this little saying now, expertise you can depend on, because that dependability is really the whole team trust sort of thing. It's just, if you don't know, you'll say we don't know, but we'll find out and we will deliver. So it's a pretty rare day and a pretty dark old day if we miss a delivery at quarry mining. It'll get really talked about.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so hang your hat on.
Hang your hat on that, yeah. And there's been people over the years, with 80 staff now that have come into the team and probably haven't been of that mindset and haven't fit, and usually they just kind of don't last. They don't fit.
Yeah, we had a conversation in a recent video about that's okay. Not everyone will fit, not everyone will be. I think some of these modern surveys or articles you might read about retention, but I think upwards of sort of 75-80% retention is a real good number, because you're always going to have people that need to fly and find a new nest, if you like. So that's not a bad thing. But so you mentioned a lot, and I'm a massive fan of mentors. You mentioned a lot about your mentors. So can you talk to us a bit about maybe the diverse nature of your mentors and what sort of stuff you get out of mentors and how they've helped you?
Yeah. So they've changed over the years, of course. And my first boss was just, he used to call me his bloody shadow, because on Saturdays he'd go around so we'd design the subdivisions or the roads or whatever. He'd go around and talk to the contractors, and I'd just follow along because I'd want to learn more. And then I was asking for opportunities to project manage jobs, and he gave me some incredible opportunities there, like at the Manalong Mine at Pacific Dunes Golf Course. I managed the engineering for that back when I was working for him. Then as I moved through PB, I actually did some work with Scott Holmes from the university in economics.
Yep.
And, I've got no idea about economics. And he just said, I just want a hard worker. Come with me. And I just got this fantastic opportunity, and I wasn't about to say no or let anybody else in there to have it. Sort of thing. Then as I got to quarry mining, I found sort of different mentors around the place. Katie Brazel is a great mentor to me. People that I work with, like, I'm so lucky to have my best friend is my CFO. And when she first joined quarry mining, I was so worried that it was going to be beneath her and she would be bored. And it's ended up being quite a challenging job, and she still says this to me now, not bored today, thanks very much, And another one of my really great friends is a solicitor. So I'm really lucky that, I've got those people really close to me. But I think it's important to have mentors outside of the business, because not that the solicitor works there, but she knows a lot about what goes on in there and has done over the years. So, yeah.
It also brings that independent set of eyes, I guess, and different perspective.
Yeah. Another one of my friends runs KCE, civil engineering, and I will often ring him up and say, I've got this problem, it's usually a people problem or something. And he's just a really honest, he'll tell you. And he's really helpful like that too. So I've got people that I just can go to at a quick 2-minute phone call, or someone who will sit down and listen to me for a couple of hours. And I think, well, I certainly need that. I think it's pretty important to have those people outside of business.
Yeah, and I reckon you'd support this, that most people that, are in positions that you want to learn from and you go and ask. I mean, I know I've asked plenty of mentors over the years. I've never been told no, Would you agree with, I think some people are scared, what if they say no?
Yeah, some people probably are. But then I put myself, so it's funny when somebody first asks you, like me, to be a mentor. Really, me? Oh, I would never say no. Some of our clients have even asked me to mentor some of their young women engineers. And I try really hard to mentor, because one of my challenges at the moment is some of my staff are 10, 12 years there, and keeping them engaged, and I don't want to lose them. And over the years, just making sure that there is enough challenges within that organisation for them, because there's no corporate ladder. And that's, making sure that there's enough technical challenge, or they're getting to manage people, or whatever the challenges are that they need, so that I don't lose them. But by the same token, Kari Mining becomes a great company for all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I try to mentor them if I can.
Yeah, I think it's I think you've hit on the head. It's within and without, outside of the business that we need to bring for different reasons. But I'd have to agree. I think some of the biggest, light bulb moments you referred to before, I think some of that and some of the best opinions can come just by having a chat with someone you trust.
Yeah.
We came out a bit before around, and I know you're saying you don't feel like you work for yourself every day, but what is the biggest thing you get out of, at the end of the day, leading Kari Mining?
I love that I feel so privileged that I'm in a position that I can give other people great people great jobs. I can't believe that it's me that gets to do that. And I just think I'm so lucky that I can do that. Even a couple of days ago, Bill, general manager, who's been there all along, and we have our good days and we have our bad days, he got so excited about something he was doing. We've picked up this, and it's all credit to him, this great distributorship for some really high quality rock drills out of the US. So they came and they surveyed a companies in Australia, and they chose us to be their distributor.
Yeah, right.
And it's just gained this amazing momentum, and he's just done such a good job. And there was that, and another product that the team's been working on, bringing it, product improvement. It's been a real team effort, and he was so excited about these things. And I had this moment where I looked at him and went, thank goodness after all this time it still all lights your fire, But right down to the 3 apprentices who started last week. We've got 8 apprentices in a staff of 80 now, which I'm very proud of. And because one thing I really love is to nurture those blue collar skills and really give them the respect they deserve. And I also think that if we don't, as businesses, don't do that now, we're going to lose them. It's got to happen. And I see these huge benefits of having university qualified engineers work with trade skills, and I can do that at Kari Mining, only in my little tiny corner of the world, I know. But at least they're getting these opportunities to work with engineers who are doing finite element analysis and all 3D modelling and this and that, and then they're going out there and they're talking to this 18-year-old who's welding, and he's all excited about it. And the other day when I was interviewing the Boilermaker apprentice, he was bouncing from side to side and rubbing his hands together. He wanted to start right then and there, like he was there with his dad. And that makes me happy,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. I can just imagine. But I think that hardest thing is find that drive, you said, for your people, but even for yourself each day, that to keep you not just getting out of bed, but actually wanting to get to the office.
Yeah. It's only probably been in the last couple of years where I've had those little thoughts creep in. I'm like, I'm really tired, and because not every day is easy and smooth sailing, isn't it? And if it was, it wouldn't be as rewarding as it is. And I think that's what I tell myself. Yeah. It's a hard day, but it's going to be great reward.
Yeah. Look, I think, and many business owners would have seen in this last year, I know about you, but when we all got shut down. Yeah. With so many uncertainties and unknowns, they're the kind of things you just go, well, geez, for no fault of anyone's, you get these issues. And I mean, I'm glad we don't have pandemics every day, but you're right, being a business owner is tough, and it's making sure you have those people around you that you can bounce off. Yeah.
And in COVID, the day where it all happened so fast, and we're at a very bad size for COVID at Kari Mining, because we haven't got enough people to really have 2 shifts. But we didn't have any choice. We had to go to 2 shifts. Then we found ourselves, we can't have people working alone because it's too dangerous. So we found ourselves in these really skinny crews. And if someone was sick, someone was left alone. And then what do you do there? And but the team the managers that manage each of the departments were just so on board, and just they're amazing anyway. I'm so lucky I've got great managers in those roles. But they just really rallied their teams, and everybody sort of just pulled together and did it.
But I was about to go another question, but you've mentioned people so much and how you've just got these great people. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure part of it comes to you've identified them, but talk to me what you do with people at Quarry Mine, whether it be through, you mentioned mentoring, but whether it be through benefits, whether it be through training, whether it be through whatever. How do you get those people to continually grow and take that initiative themselves?
Yeah. But there is an open door policy. So if you want something or you want training, I try to encourage people to go to their manager and then for them to both come to me, because I don't like their managers being left out. Like there's a problem with that specifically. But that's, we're both on your side. And if you need to change something within your conditions, or you've got a goal, or we both want to know about, so we can both help nurture that. So I try to be like inside the team. It gets harder and harder because time is my biggest challenge, not having enough hours in the day.
Yeah.
But I do look for courses, and I do encourage them to come to me with their interests. But also, I probably spend a bit more, I've been told, money than most other business on technology. So one of our trades assistants at the moment is working with a new automated robotic welder. So he wouldn't get that opportunity normally as a welder to do that. But he's worked really hard, and he's giving Quarry Mining a lot back. So there's an opportunity there for you to take some ownership over that. And so technology is something that's inside Quarry Mining that people can take ownership of, that I think is something that they lights their fire a bit.
Yeah, sure.
And then I try to keep really close contact with the managers of all the departments, so that culturally it's a nice workplace. It's somewhere people want to come to each day. I really worry. I'm always talking to myself about making sure that people actually do go to work. Like I have this saying where I say, it's all right if even the shitty days are okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I say shitty.
No, you can say anything, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it gets hard. It's hard in a business that size sometimes, just to keep constantly finding the challenges.
It is, but I like what you said about the manager's part, where empowering that next level, and in turn they can empower others as well. Like that gives that sense of ownership.
Yeah, and I think it's important for me not to lose that contact, because something could be happening in the business that I just don't know about. I'm sure there are things these days, and it can get out of control, and we could have fixed it. Yeah. And that's what I try to say to people. We can fix that in 5 minutes most of the time. But if it goes on for 5 months, it might be too late.
And technology is one aspect that you just mentioned around, it's big in Quarry Mining. I guess that forms part of innovation. And as you said, you have your product improvements and that, so you've alluded to some of it already, but talk to me about innovation within the Quarry Mining environment.
Well, we've, over the past 4 years, bought 3 businesses in-house, bought 3 small businesses and integrated them in. So they're all part of a manufacturing process. But one of them was a manufacturer of roof bolters, specifically for underground, and another one was of grouting equipment for underground. So we've been doing a lot of work, the team's been doing a lot of work to bring those products up to a higher level standard, and lots of work around plant safety, operator manuals, as well as the actual gearbox and the motors and everything themselves, and the materials that go into it. And so that brings a team of our sales team who actually use it from a usability safety point of view. Our safety guy, who came from Fairfax, so it's all new to him and amazing, but he's fantastic and so methodical. And our fitters and our boiler makers all working together to actually make the product. And right down to the paint bay, making it shiny so everyone stands around it at the end of the day with a great big smile on their face and goes, wow, look what we've done. That's so much better now, stronger, performs better. And then they take it underground themselves and actually use it and come back with a bit of feedback. And that keeps them all really engaged and I think quite excited. And we've got 3 or 4 projects on the horizon like that now. So we've just finished our first one. We're partway into the second one, and then there's 2 more coming up. And they're all quite different, and they'll all take the same team, and they're all learning from one another whilst they're undertaking these projects.
Yeah, sure. And I guess while they're all involved, you're getting multiple ideas as well.
Yeah, and that can be, that can get a bit. People obviously want perfect, and it's not a perfect world, so we can't make something 5 times bigger and lighter. But we try for it.
We've got a saying that we do in a lot of our strategy days. It's to business owners saying you're going for success, not perfection. And perfection's realistically, there's no such thing because it's always can be better. But I like what you said, especially at the moment, where you said about the businesses you've brought in and acquired, etc. There's a lot of activity in that space at the moment, and sometimes people are just looking with the blinkers on around, I need something like what we do to be bigger. But, you've looked at things that are, I guess, the same inputs can go in from what you can currently do, but you're producing different products, different aspects that you can offer to the market, which is complementary.
And that's another one of the challenges, I suppose, is that the resources that I've got, like we can't afford to bring in resources just for a new project. We're just not that big in that. Yeah, so we really have to work with who we've got. And they're well and truly capable, have the skills, but they're also pretty loaded up already. Yeah, so it is a bit of a balancing act there.
Well, I want to ask you about your biggest challenges. One of the ones I particularly want to know, as I alluded to at the start, you've been in an industry that's heavily male-dominated, I guess, for a long, long time. And fortunately, we're really seeing some good things happening there, not so much in gender balance, but some good things from leading females, etc. We're talking you've been involved for a while now, so you probably didn't have that support for a long while. How have you mitigated that, or how have you dealt with that?
Yeah. It's a funny question. It's a question I've been asked before, of course. I think, and it's easy for me to say, just do what you love, and I do love it. I was never a girly girl anyway, I guess. But although Nikki Williams, ex-CEO of Women's Council, Nikki Williams, she once said to me, never lose your femininity. And it was some really good advice, and I have said that to other girls. Don't try to be one of the boys. They don't like it anyway. And that I've just done what I liked and tried to do it to the best of my ability. And I got to a point there once where I was in a room in a meeting with, it was like a development day that I thought I should go to for CEOs or whatever, and I completely didn't notice all day that I was the only girl in the room, because I sort of forget that now. And I think within quarry mining it's pretty genderless these days. We have I think we have 11 or 12 girls now. Some doing like brazing and quality and sales, as well as the administration accounts roles. And we've got an apprentice fitter. She's great. I think it's easier and easier, but there are more girls now. When I was first at uni, I was few tough times there where it was just really boys everywhere, and you've found yourself kind of out on your own, or feeling like you're a bit out on your own. But the biggest thing for me has been, again, and I sound like a broken record, but the support of my team. So the sales guys would tell me stories sometimes where they'd get asked, what's it like to work with a 5-foot chick? And, they would always say, oh, she's great. She knows the product. She'll help you. She's really, and so I think they've been my best advocates.
Yeah,
and
good.
I've been very lucky that way. And if anybody has ever had a swipe at me, even if it's a joke, they don't take it. They stick up for me.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm just quite happy for them to do that.
No, I love it. In our industry, it's a bit, professional service, particularly accounting, it's been an old boys club for a long, long time. And, ironically now I mentor quite a lot of people, but I was looking the other day, I reckon 80% of those people are our female leaders, and they're great, and they just got to forget about what's around them and push through that glass ceiling with the right support, So that's great. That was just one that I'm particularly interested in, but I mean, rest of challenges, what some have been some of your other challenges, if not already mentioned in the journey? Yeah,
probably already mentioned, but in terms of keeping the good staff challenged and making sure that they're for the long haul. They have been, but I don't want them to go anywhere tomorrow, but I don't want them to be there if it's not the right thing for their life and their career. So that's my biggest challenge, I think, to keep them there. I've had certainly challenges just with my dad, still thinking I'm 11 years old.
Is he still involved?
No, he's not. He was only there for 2 years. Yeah, when I was there, and then he retired, but he's not very well these days. So
okay.
And I've had other challenges with our competitors, not liking some things we've done, so attacked us on a couple of fronts there. But had good people around me.
And you can only control what you can control too, yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably been my saving grace. I'm not someone who stresses about stuff I can't control. And I think thank goodness for that, because if you were, it'd be very hard to be me. Yeah, because there is so much I can't control. And I don't know why I think like that, but I just do. And there's little challenges all the time, just in supply. At the moment, it's the price of steel, has been the US dollar. There's those business challenges all the time. But there's good people around to help me. I am by far not the smartest person at Kari Mining. Another challenge has been the skills. Like we've had times there where it's been difficult to find a machinist or the right fitter or enough fitters or whatever it might be. Or having our stores personnel take the quality seriously by the time it gets to the store. And they really do now, but that's been a bit of a cultural journey. It's not just the end of the line, chuck it out the door. It's still got to be controlled and quality, and it's a care factor that everybody there really has. That's been passed down from the top down, if you say myself, Phil, and the CFO say. I suppose it's a lot of little challenges. Sometimes I feel like it's death by a thousand cuts kind of challenges. Yeah, but there have been some big ones there, and I'm usually fighting a million little fires all the time, but there's usually one big burning one somewhere that's like the price of steel or something like that.
But as you said, if you have, probably not just a few more good ones, but a lot more good days than the bad, then it all makes sense.
Yeah.
And off the back of challenges, I guess, what have been your biggest lessons?
Well, so my biggest lesson has probably been about myself. I can be accused of, and fairly rightly so, of going too fast and just going gung-ho, I guess, for the gate style Kari, instead of being, sometimes I need to step back and be a bit more considered. And I've learned over the years to go into the next office and go, hey, what about this amazing opportunity to distribute somebody's Australian-made lights or underground air conditioner or whatever it might be, because there's these people out there making these amazing products and I love them. I just want to partner with them and help them sell them. And, I need to go into these next office and for them to go, have you thought about this and this? And instead of just going, yes, let's do it. That's be us. The lesson is that a couple of times I've really stressed people out by my actions, by just trying to drag them along too fast, and they're not willing to race up that mountain like I am. But I haven't recognised that. And I looked back and realised how selfish I was when I thought I was taking them on this exciting journey. That wasn't how they saw it.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And I mean, it's have that ability to seek counsel. But it can be hard too when there's not other owners sitting at the table, but too.
Yeah, there's not, but there's
the good people. But it's just that
I really value the opinion of. Yeah. But I suppose when you're the only one charged with driving the ship, you feel like you've got to drive it fast. Well, I do, and I think that I learned some lessons there where I need to slow down and go around a corner instead of forging right ahead. Yeah, no,
we there's I'm a reader. I love getting my teeth sunk into books, but one of the great ones I read, I just forget the title at the moment, but it talked about, we all want to achieve this by 30 or 40 or whatever age bracket. And some people get put off when they haven't got to a certain point. But you look and you go, but hang on, most people these days will probably work to, I was going to say 60, but probably 70 to be fair, with the way the population's going, etc. You might be 40, you say, well, I've still got 30 years in front of me to achieve what I want to achieve. I'm not saying that you, delay and you put off, but you've got time.
Yeah, I do. I need to remember that. And I've tried to get better at that. Yeah.
What else? Maybe some of the hard lessons?
I think that's my hardest one because I hurt people that I love along the way a little bit. And not that they haven't forgiven me or anything. It's fine, but I did never, ever intend to do that. Yeah. There's been some hard lessons with quality in the early days where we've thought, what a great idea, let's get this manufactured somewhere or bring it in, and it's come in and we've taken one look at it and thrown thousands of dollars in the steel bin because it's been terrible. And really learned a lesson about how we didn't do our due diligence. Same with some of the technology. We've bought in some of the machines and they were meant to do this and this and this, and 3 or 4 months later you're still trying to get it over the line to have it working the way it should have been or that you were promised.
Mm.
You know, the extra time that you might have underestimated that you had to put into that, or resources. I've been in the early days. My accountant told me cash is king and get your debt low. So I did that. And that was a really good thing, because that sort of goes back to your question earlier about how did I grow the place. Well, I put all the money back into the business for a long time. Yeah.
Which that in itself is I guess, I'm going to say rare thing, but it's less common, let's say, with a lot of, maybe it's a generational thing, but a lot of people these days, it's about making profit, pulling it out for personal use, or, you know, keeping up the Joneses, if you like. But I think it's when you do get that foundation in, you know, it might be a bit of sacrifice early on. It's funny when we talk to people about budgeting and that sort of stuff, and you know, really something has to sacrifice if you want to get ahead, and you've done that. So
because people say to me, "Why don't you go on holidays? You're the boss. You can be." And I say, because running your own business successfully and taking holidays are completely opposed. Well, they certainly used to be. Yeah, it's a bit easier these days. I
think you got that tipping point. You probably, you know, like, I'm not saying you're by any means is 80 people the biggest company in Australia, but you're a lot bigger than a small business where, and you know, as I said, you've got the good people. You know, I think part of my drive is my mum and dad were also in small business, and, you know, night times after dinner we're doing the books and, you know, balancing everything, and early starts and late finishes. And if you know what you do now, back then you could have had things very differently, because I think it's half the thing with business, just that education piece to know, well, how do the parts move? And as you say, cash is king. That concept alone, most people don't get it. Sounds simple.
Sounds simple, yeah. But also, and I don't do anything like the work I used to do these days, because I've got this team who I trust. And it's really important to trust your team. That's another way I think I try to hold on to staff, like you were saying about how to keep them, is to give them that trust, and I do. And even if they make a mistake, their heart was always in the right spot.
Well, as long as you learn from your mistakes, that's the biggest thing. You know, mistakes aren't bad. No, everyone does. I think one of my mentors has said that, you know, if you're not making mistakes, we're not trying. But, you know, as long as you can learn from those mistakes and apply, it's when you make the same mistake over and over again, that's when it becomes a bit silly.
Yeah.
But, you know, the other thing I love what you're saying about that business, if you can't take time away from the business, then it's not really a business if it's relying upon you. And I think that's where, you know, I think you're underselling yourself a bit these days as to where you've got it to. Yes, your team's great, but being able to empower those people and put them into place, you know, it takes frameworks, it takes role descriptions, it takes training, it takes, you know, experience. So, it's a pretty good story. I'm probably going off track here a bit, but I guess I think most business people will probably resonate with what you just said about the holidays and other aspects. Like, you've got family, so how do you balance everything? And don't get me wrong, when I say that, I don't think it needs to be work-life balance, etc. But balance for you. How do you keep all those balls in the air?
Yeah. I don't sleep a lot. Start with that. I recently moved closer to work, which would generally be an unhealthy thing. But it's been really great because I'm 2 minutes from my daughter's school, and I was missing out a lot working at Beresfield and having her go to school in the Junction. And it was taking me an hour to get in there, and it was quite stressful, and then you can't park, and then I'd miss out on seeing her get a certificate or something like that. It's important little things that she'll remember. And so now I can get there in 2 minutes flat and watch her play the cello or whatever it is. And so has been a great move for us. Yeah. Also, my husband loves to play golf, so he's closer to the golf course that he likes to play at, and still can look after her to and from school. He's pretty understanding because I've got this crazy hobby of triathlon, so that takes a lot of time to swim and run and ride my bike and stay fit for that. And yes, I'm not home a lot, but I do try to leave work about 4:30, be home and present for an hour, train or whatever it is I might need to do, and then come back and work again. I'll usually do a couple of hours of work like later on at night. Yeah, and then I train really early in the morning so they don't even miss me because it's before they even get up. And that's my typical, I suppose, crazy.
But it's been scheduled and planned and fitting things in.
Pretty scheduled. Yeah. If I let myself get too unorganised, it all falls apart. And I'm not by nature a highly organised person. I just have to make myself.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Very good. we've spoken a lot about the support you put around you. I mean, in mentor set within your team, etc. I mean, what's your biggest tip there for people that are viewing that may be thinking about that? Because to be fair, fortunately with a lot of the clients, well, it's not really an option to say once a year. It's a relationship because we're driving business, etc. But there's so many businesses out there that see their account once a year, if that. Let alone any other support or advice around there. What's your tip in that space?
Yeah. Well, I think you've got to stay connected with those advisors. So we have, even though I guess I'm the only shareholder, but we have a board meeting once a month just to keep me on track, just to make sure where things are going. And then we also bring the sales force in there for forecasting and things like that. So staying connected to the people that are looking at the bigger picture stuff, the accounting side of things, because I'm racing around doing everything, and I need to stop and have a look and make sure it's all still holding together.
And you're delegating and letting people with the skill sets be able to come back to you on their particular areas.
I'm a hopeless financial person. I've got these 5 things that I know: debtors, creditors, cash, like stock.
Yeah.
And that's about it. And then, but funnily enough, they will say to me, "Something's gone wrong here," and I can know what it is. I'll know it's a stock transfer. I'll know I'm all right like that. But I'm terrible at reading profit and loss statement and I've got good people that do that for me, but I'm aware that I'm no good at that, so I need to really stay in the loop with them. I've got fantastic IT, business systems IT guy who keeps all of that together and on track, and I stay really connected in with him because that could unravel really quickly in such a transaction-heavy business like Kari Mining is. And then we have external, compliance accounting that they just sort of really take care of, and other businesses that they do things for me to protect assets and bits and pieces, but I really do trust those people so much to look after that for me and keep me informed, and have a set of questions that I think really they've actually developed for me to know, and that I always know the answers to them, and make sure that that's important.
Yeah, that's great.
But it's having empathy is a massive thing. So I've got 2 things I try to keep in my mind. Empathy, so that people working with you, for you, around you, you're understanding what they're as much as well as you can, understanding what they're thinking and how they're feeling about their role and their place in it all. And I have this saying called complacency is your enemy. And I think as soon as you drop the ball on something, you get complacent about something, it's likely going to sooner or later bite you. So I just try to keep an eye on things. And if I am being complacent about something because it's a little bit in the too hard basket, give myself a bit of a talking to and go and address that. And get people to address it.
And I think that's a good thing too. Like, we here coach a lot of people, and we've seen a lot of advisory boards, that sort of thing. And then when it comes back to your own stuff, people go, well, but don't you do that? And I said, yeah, but that independent perspective is a massive thing when people aren't in the business each day and they can call you on your bullshit, and help you see through it and find a better solution. Yeah, it's a great one. I guess in closing, for me, before I wrap up, we've spoken about a lot of stuff, but what's some of if you had 2 tips to give to people in business that you mightn't, I think you've undersold yourself quite a bit today, but you've achieved quite a bit in a short period of time. What would be your 2 biggest tips for business owners? I mean, obviously the team aspect's there.
The team aspect, yeah. So stay close to your core team and make sure that they are still loving what you're all doing, and get yourself an accountant and a lawyer that you can 100,000% trust.
Very good, very good.
That'd be my tips.
No, look, I loved it. There's a few things I got out of that too. There's a lot, but if I had to pull out some key highlights there, the mentoring one, I reiterate that all the time. I'm glad to see someone else saying it. It certainly, adds a lot to not only your business but your life. So I think that's a big one. The team empowerment, giving people that opportunity. I love the sales part. We're not hiring necessarily for salespeople with experience, but people that understand what they're selling. To me, that's a great one. Having a crack. Too many people, I see that we will if or we will but, rather than just saying, look, I'll do it. I'm a bit the same. I'll sell stuff and come back to the team and they go, we haven't done that before. And I go, well, we can, But I think sometimes we let that fear keep us back. But to me, it's more about how do I manage the risk and the fallout if it doesn't go to plan as opposed to not. And as you just said, having the right people around you and engaging in making sure they want to be there. That's for me, that's some great things that any business owner could learn from. So you're kicking some big goals. I know you're quite passionate about this, not just quarry mining, but the manufacturing industry at large. And as you said, the mentoring of future leaders, not just females, but I know that's a passion. So I thank you for it too, because you set the scene and certainly adding contribution to the Hunter. And thank you for sharing your story with us on Down to Business.
Well, thank you so much. Very, very humbled to be here.
No. And until next time, cheers.